Hi, everybody. I'm back. Did you miss me? I missed you. Well, I'm back after, I guess I uploaded a video here or there a couple weeks ago, but I'm basically back after a month. I had mentioned that I was going away out of state for work, so I was probably not going to be able to upload anything. I'm actually kind of surprised that I did, but I am finally back where I live. I'm back. I want to say that things are going to pick quite back up to where they were, but I'm about to go into another contract that's going to run for like 6 weeks. So that's going to be pretty crazy for a while. But I'll be here living at my house. So I think after like a week or and a half or so, things are going to be settled. So I'll be able to get back to doing videos for you. I missed it. I really did. I missed doing videos. I just didn't have any time. But I'm back for now. And I certainly will have more videos coming as well. Definitely in the fragrance realm. Some other stuff, but definitely in the fragrance realm. So let me talk about what I want to talk about today, which is FAFA. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's the Flight of the Conchords song. FAFA by Happyland Studio. I have a sample here. It comes in this cool, well, you know what a sample looks like, but it's got a blue label this time, and then the little dude that's normally on the things has a beret, and I don't know if you can see it. Apologies for my cinematography skills, but a little French flag there. So this is a amber scent, definitely a fall winter amber scent. I'll just read the description on EJ's website, EJ Wells. Inspired by the song of the same name by the New Zealand duo Flight of the Conchords, FAFA is a rich and inviting winter warmer with citruses, spices, woods, amber, rose, vanilla, ambergris, and patchouli. This is one, like, I'll review some other fragrances of his that I've gotten recently, that does not really smell like I thought it was going to. It's not a bad thing. I will say right off the bat that I really enjoy this fragrance. I think it's great. But it definitely doesn't smell like I thought it was going to, especially from reading reviews and watching reviews on YouTube. You know, it's hard to know. Sometimes people just hype up a fragrance and aren't totally transparent. Sometimes people just have simply different noses, you know? We all have different noses, so it's hard to know. But this really doesn't smell like I thought it was going to. I've heard it described as like extremely sweet, very sweet winter scent. I've heard it described as like a very extremely patchouli heavy fragrance, where if you don't like patchouli, you're gonna hate this. And I don't know if I really feel that way about any of this. What I will say is, I got it on a tester here, is when I first sprayed this fragrance, I immediately was like, oh, it's an amber fragrance. It smells like his other amber fragrances. And if you know, he has his coffee trifecta of Queer Cafe, Home for the Holidays, and Dawnbuster. That's his coffee trifecta, his coffee trilogy that he says that he has. Well, he doesn't say he has an amber trilogy, but I'm going to say right here, this is the unofficial, non-canon amber trilogy of Happyland Studios. We got 7, Amberland, and FAFA, and I think those are definitely the amber trifecta that he has. I think that he should start using that, because I think that really works. This definitely reminds me of those two fragrances. Now, it's not quite the same, of course, but it's in the same vein, and it certainly reminds me of Amberland for sure. It's a very amber-heavy fragrance. When I first smelled it, I get that amber powdery sort of vanilla smell that I get from Amberland, if you're familiar with that fragrance. And there's also a rose note going on in here, so that's why it reminded me of 7. Now, 7 is it's different. 7 is a fougere at the top, and it dries down into an amber fragrance. So 7 is quite masculine and sharp at the top, but it does have that rose note that this does, that kind of reminded me of that. And Amberland I've described it as being kind of dusty, kind of powdery. This is, if I could use one word, as I kind of have been doing for these fragrances, to describe this, it's creamy. It's a very creamy, very smooth scent. There's really nothing that pops out as being bright or sharp or anything. Everything's just very creamy and smooth. Even in Amberland, which I would say is smooth, that has citrus at the top that almost pokes out a little bit when you first spray it. And I don't really get anything like that in here. This is a fragrance that is so very smooth and creamy the whole way through. Now, there is citrus in this, and I can certainly smell it at the top, but it's definitely not as extreme as Amberland. The citrus in this fragrance keeps this bright, and I'm hesitant to use the word bright because, again, I don't want you to think anything pops out. Is again, I will reiterate myself, very creamy and smooth, but you can detect really through the whole fragrance of brightness. And yes, there is patchouli in this fragrance, but I'd be damned if I smell it at the top. I really only start to smell the patchouli as this dries down. And I think it's like clear wood. I don't really think it's a patchouli essential oil. It's probably clear wood, which is like a aroma chemical that has all that earthiness taken away. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what was used here because that's just the vibe I'm getting. But I love clear wood, so that's okay with me if that's what's used. That I don't know, EJ, but it smells that clear wood smells amazing to me. I love it. But I get an interesting vibe at the top of this, and it's gonna sound weird when I say this to you. And this is not what anybody said. So this is sweet. There's a sweetness going on in here. I guess it's sweet, but I'm hesitant to use terms like this is a sweet fragrance because then you're going to think of things like El Gudo or things like that that are just so very sweet. This isn't really like that, but of course it's sweeter than something like Barbershop of his where there's like no sweetness. But I get this vibe of like shampoo or hairspray at the top of this, which sounds weird, and I guess it is, but it's not really a bad thing because I don't think it smells bad. I just get this strange cosmetic vibe. And I know that certain notes and accords can cause cosmetic vibes in fragrances. I don't know if that's what's going on here or if that's just how my nose is perceiving it. But I do get like the vibe of like a upscale salon shampoo or even hairspray. But you know, hairspray has like a biting, like sticky, sharp thing going on in it. I don't know if that's not a very intuitive way to explain it, but I think you know what I mean if you've smelled hairspray. It just has a biting vibe to it, and this doesn't. Again, it's very smooth, but I definitely get that sort of vibe from it at the top. And I would say for like the whole opening of this, I'm getting this like hairspray, shampoo-y sort of vibe. At the same time, I'm smelling amber and vanilla and rose. Some people describe this as having like a rose Coca-Cola note, and it's like almost there, but I think I'm trying to get myself to smell that. I'm sure you've probably heard people describe it as that. I really can't get that, but I'm definitely getting rose out of this. But as this dries down, that shampoo-y kind of hairspray vibe, cosmetic vibe, if you will, kind of weans down, and then it just turns into a very nice amber scent. Amber, I'd say, you know, there is patchouli in this, but I'd say that, in my opinion, this is more of an amber scent. This is why I'm saying it's part of this amber trilogy, this unofficial amber trilogy. Excuse me. But it does retain a sweetness all the way through that something like probably Amberland doesn't. While that does have vanilla, again, that's a dusty kind of powdery style fragrance to me. And this is more creamy and a little bit more sweet. I don't want you, again, to think it's very sweet, but I think it does have that. It is interesting because the way it's described is some people said like, oh, you're at not that this has coffee in it, but you're like at a French coffee shop, you know, with the baguettes in the windows and the spices of winter. I don't really see this having that vibe, but that's to each their own. To me, the vibe of this, at the top, okay, I'll be honest with you. At the top of this fragrance, while I think it smells great, I'm almost a little confused as to what's going on. Like, it's hard for me to figure out exactly what the opening is trying to portray or convey, perhaps. It sounds very, like, artsy of me, but it doesn't smell bad. I'm just not sure, like, what this is appropriate for, like, what's going on here. It's just a little confusing to my nose. I don't think it's, like, complicated or, you know, like, overly complex. I just think I'm not sure, like, what's going on here. As it dries down, I start to get the feel of like this is something I'd want to wear walking through the woods in the fall when the leaves have changed. That's the vibe I get from this. Because those spices start to come through, I don't think that they push through as strong on some of his other fragrances, but they're definitely there in the background. I would say if you're familiar, you know, EJ of course has his signature DNA that he uses in a lot of his scents, and I'm sure if you've worn his scents, you've become accustomed to smelling those sorts of accords he uses, you know, probably his pre-mixed bases and things that he likes to use for his different, you know, what he wants to evoke out of a fragrance. And so you can certainly smell that signature spice blend that he uses a lot, but again, it's quite toned down in the background of this fragrance as opposed to some of the others. But the fact that it's there reminds me of the fall. I think actually this would probably work in the spring as well because there's citrus. Again, not bright citrus, but it's there keeping this not fresh, but just a little uplifting. I think it would work in the spring. I think that this would work in the fall. And of course, it would work in the winter too, but I think the fall is probably the best time. You know, he says it's a winter warmer. I think fall probably would be the ideal time to wear this. Walking through the woods, the leaves are orange. You have a coat on. It's a little chilly. There's a fire going. I don't think this is smoky, but that's just the things that is reminding me of this scent. It's a little bit tricky to explain. Again, it's not quite what I was expecting, but I don't dislike this. And if I'm going to look at that trilogy and see what are my favorites, this is going to knock out Amberland, to be honest with you, because there is a little touch of sweetness, and it's got this creaminess to it that Amberland doesn't have. And so I'm going to say that I actually like this more than Amberland. Yeah, I like FAFA more than Amberland, I think. I love all three, but this one I think I like more. I still think I like 7 the most just because it has that masculine, sharp opening. So if I'm wanting to feel masculine or gentleman-like, I can put that on, but then I'm still going to get the dry down, which is similar to this, that vanilla amber patchouli vibe that is very alluring and very nice. This is a fragrance where, to be honest with you, I don't think anyone's going to dislike it. Now, you might not like it yourself. You might like spray it and immediately have someone smell it and they might not like it. But I think that this is a very unassuming fragrance pretty much the whole way through. I don't really think the patchouli comes out as much as other people are saying, but that's just my opinion. I think that this is a fragrance where even if you perhaps are not enthralled by it yourself, people are going to think it smells great on you. It's one of those scents where the way that it comes off of you, I think people are going to love it. I think it's safe for the office. I think it's probably safe all the time. I don't think that anything pokes out enough in this where it's, you know, screaming off the rooftops. It's a particular type of fragrance. I think that this is probably just good all the time for all situations. It's a very unassuming scent. It reminds me a lot of Cravat Noir, not in its scent at all, but in the way that that's so easy to wear for pretty much anything. It this really does work. I didn't think that was going to be the case. Again, I thought this was going to be really, really rich with the spices and even sweeter. I was almost expecting like a caramel smell or something. I don't know. I was expecting, but I thought it was just going to be like, this is like a rich winter scent. It's really not. It's good though. So FAFA gets a thumbs up from me. I like it. It's not quite like what I thought. I think you know, I'd really, again, I don't always suggest you just go out and buy a bottle. I suggest that you always sample these, which you can on his website, Happyland Studio. But I think that a lot of people are going to like this. Give it a shot. I think it's good for a lot of situations. And this is one where I would get a full bottle of this one because I see this as being an easy reach fall scent for me. Very easy reach, dumb reach, as a matter of fact. It's just fantastic. I will say, take this with a grain of salt, but I do think that in terms of performance, probably not in terms of, well, yeah, I think that the performance is a little weaker than his others, and I think the projection is a little weaker than his others. But I don't want that to scare you off because the projection, as you know, from Happyland Studio is pretty famously insane. That's the best way to describe it. You probably know by now that the performance is like ridiculously good, like easily 12 hours, like without question, but a lot of them push like 24 hours and they have monster projection. I don't know if it's an anosmia for me for what's going on in this scent, but I find this one to be a touch weaker than what I'm used to in the house. But that's not a big deal because it still lasts like all day. It's just a little bit weaker than the others. Just something to think about. But that's FAFA. I think it's fantastic. I really do like it, and I'll definitely wear more. I already reviewed Diabolique. I finally got a bottle of my favorite Happyland signature, but yeah, I'll probably do more with this one because it's so damn good. It's probably gonna push that one out as my favorite. And the famous one that I've been talking about for years and years, not really, but a long time, is El Gudo. You know, I've wanted to try this one forever. I finally got a sample. I'm going to review it for you soon. I have to just do a little more testing just to give a thorough explanation. Full bottle worthy though. And then I really want to try Shameless. That's the one I want to try so much, but I'll get to it. Yeah, I hope you're all well. I'm glad to be back. I hope to hear from you. let me know what's going on, whatever you want to say. I really like hearing from you folks. I'll be back soon, I promise, with an Algudo review and some other stuff. Take care. Hope you had a good Halloween, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.